Okay, so for the Splunk, so I connect back and I found out where to go back to the data set that you want to do search, because sometimes when you after some operation, you cannot go back, because for the browser, if you click go back, sometimes it will not work. So in that case, you click this home button. You can think that this is like this left upside corner, this Splunk Enterprise is like a home button. And if you click here and search reporting, and here in how to search here, you can click data summary. Well, it take a little bit time. Well, it's already listed, but I don't know, maybe this is software problem, but if you click some of them, you will see what we have. So what we have is this tutorial data set, and these are the tutorial.zip that data set. If you have imported multiple data sets, for example, give them multiple host project name, then it should list the multiple here. And if you want to search for any project, you can just click this. Then you can see that the host has been put in the search button. So you can continue to add search field in this in here. Of course, right now there's nothing show up because by default it showed the last 24 hours. So if you choose this all time, then all the events in this project should show up. So that is one thing I want to emphasize, because I have trouble to find where to get this. So select this data summary, then you can see all the previous project you have created, all the previous imported data you have imported. One issue some students have, because they said that they get double count. For example, how many events for something, when they do the search, they find out that their number is double the amount of the correct number. The reason is because they have imported the data set twice. If you imported the same data set twice, then it will show up. It will show up here. It will show up here as two hosts. If you give them two host name, and all the source could appear twice. So if you import the same data twice, then the number of events could be doubled. In that case, you have to limit your search to one project name. For example, you have to limit to one project name. So that's why I told you that when you import the data set, make sure you give it a unique project name. So you will not mix up imported data to each other. So that's one thing I want to mention. Another is a timestamp issue. As I mentioned, that Splunk, sometimes it's interpreted time and the raw data time is different. This difference, sometimes it's simply because of time zone issue, because your time zone is different from the data log time zone. Then the show up time could be different. For example, for enterprise, when you collected multiple data from different computers within this company network, your company may have some other branch in another time zone. So the collected data will have that time zone information. But for you in the centralized server you want to analyze, you need to put them in the same time frame. So that will be one issue that could make the difference between yours and time zones. So the time under the event field is original time text in the log, while time under the time field is what Splunk extracted. Basically, if you show in the default list format, under this column, these are interpreted time, and under this event, this is the raw data time. This is the raw data time. For this tutorial data, it happened to be that this raw data is exactly the same as the Splunk interpreted time. But sometimes it's very different. But I'm not exactly sure why the difference is so big, especially for the case study file. Even the year and months, they are very different. So that is another issue that you should pay attention. Sometimes it's this software's problem. I don't know whether this problem happened to some other incident response software or not, but Splunk, in the last few years, it still have these issues. My computer is in Eastern time zone, so the tutorial data and in the tutorial data, this exact time and raw data is the same. But if you are in different time zone, you may be different. One way is that you can change your time zone and then restart Splunk D. Then you can see that I will not operate right now on my computer. This is what I operate before on my computer. When I change my time zone to be 1 hour shift, then expected time will be different from this raw data time, because this raw data time, the time zone is in Eastern time. But if my computer time is in Central time, then this is expected time. So just to make sure that you know this. And how do you start or stop Splunk D? Sometimes you want to restart your Splunk daemon because maybe there is some crashing, or maybe there's some other issues that you want to restart. So instead of reboot your computer entirely, you can start and stop Splunk D service by yourself. So this document showed how you can do that. I think how to choose an existing data set here. I have put it here. So you can, in Mac computer, you can right-click Splunk icon to shut and stop, to shut down and restart the service. In Splunk graphic user interface, you can click on the top of the web page, the setting and server control, and restart. So let me show this right side. Setting, then server control. And you can click here to restart. Do you want to restart? This restart will take some time. So if right now you want to connect to localhost, you will see this page because the server has not started yet. So the web browser cannot connect to that. But once it restarts, the restart will take some time. Once it finishes the restart, you can connect it to it again. So it's like a web server. You restart a web server. This page tell you how you can do it by using command line. Just run command line under this command line terminal in Windows computer or other computer. So this one said restart complete. So if I reconnect it again, then you can see that the web page has been connected. Okay, so these are just the last few words about the Splunk and Splunk daemon. And remember, once you install Splunk on your computer, by default, Splunk is always running in the background. So if you are not using Splunk and want to make your computer faster, then you can stop the Splunk service. Splunk daemon service. You can use this, whatever explained here, like in Windows computer. Windows computer, you can use this. Let me see. In Windows computer, you can go to terminal. You can open a terminal using this administrative privilege. Then you go to Splunk home directory, this Splunk home D. Then just type Splunk stop. Then Splunk D will stop running. So that will save your computer's resource if you're not using Splunk. Of course, after the class, if you don't use it, you can uninstall it, and Splunk D will not run on your computer anymore. Okay, so that's the end for the Splunk. And remember our homework. The homework 3 is about Splunk. So you need to use homework 3, use Splunk to import the data given in homework 3 and answer those questions. So now let's move on to the next topic in the class, which is scanning. Remember, for penetration testing or for attackers' cyber attack, the first stage is reconnaissance. Reconnaissance means you collect the information without probing the target. Scanning, on the other hand, means you actively sending traffic to the target in order to get more detailed information. The main content is coming from this reference book. And for this, we will need to use this virtual machine, Metasploitable 2 virtual machine. So you need to install it on your own computer, because we will use this as a potential target. This Linux machine has running by default a lot of services, and many of those services have all kinds of vulnerabilities that could be compromised. And I have explained how you can set up this one. Let me see if this link. Oh, this one is not working anymore. This instruction is not working. Okay, anyway, I have introduced how to set up this Metasploitable 2 VM in this virtual machine slide. So just notice that because this is vulnerable virtual machine, so never expose this VM to an untrusted network. So it says use NAT or host only mode, but for us to do penetration testing, you should put it in this NAT network mode or put it in the bridge adapter mode, so it will not exposed to the internet. And this is login information MSF admin, and the password is also MSF admin. Of course, you can change the password, but because this is a vulnerable Linux, you will never expose to the internet, so or you don't need to change its password. And of course, you can change to root account, but we're not doing any configuration right now for this computer. So if you there's no need for you to change to root account. But for Kali Linux, you need to change it to the root account because many operations on Kali Linux require you to have root privilege. And we mentioned how you can check machines' online status. The first is using ping. So attacker can also use ping to find whether a remote IP address is online or not. However, this is not very reliable because many networks, they block the ping message, like ping is ICMP protocol message. Like our UCF gateway will block all the ICMP protocol message, so ping will not go through our firewall. In addition, Windows machine, Windows 7, Windows 8, Windows 10, by default, their firewall have blocked the ping message from outside to the Windows computer. So if your ping target is a Windows computer, then ping may not get any response because that computer blocked it. So if you want to open this response service, you need to configure your firewall to enable this file and printer sharing. In this firewall's inbound rule, I have showed this when I introduced virtual machine, so you should be able to do it by yourself. Also, why it's called file and printer sharing? Because message is extensively used by network printer. If you set up a network printer in your home, and if you set up your computer to be able to share your computer's printer to the neighborhood computer, then your computer will enable, will open this inbound process. Because for network printer to work, normally when a computer prints something to network printer, they will first send ping message to find out whether or not that network printer is online or not. So ping message is used a lot by the network printer. Okay, so first scanning tool is related to ping, but it's called fping. It's a ping sweep. Basically, if attacker do ping one by one, then they can only ping every time. They can only ping one IP address, but that's too inefficient. So this software tool, this fping, is pre-installed in Kali Linux. It can ping every IP address within a subnet. So it can send ping message to every IP address within subnet. So as long as the target does not block the ping message, then it can find out whatever server is responding to the ping. So this is fping. You specify the beginning IP address, the ending IP address. Then these options, this -A just show the live one. Otherwise, it will show every IP address it has pinged, basically tell you it is unreachable or not response. -R means the retry number. So sometimes one ping message does not go through, maybe not because of this firewall or some other thing. It's just because the packet is lost. So for safe, you can try sending multiple ping message to the same IP address. So if you use -R0, that means that we don't retry. So for every IP address, target IP address, we only send one ping message. So the default is 3 tries. -T means the IP address range. So this is very efficient, but of course it will generate a flood of traffic to every IP address within subnet. So it can be very easily detected by administrator in the target system. They can clearly see someone is sending ping message sequentially to every IP address within their network. And another disadvantage is that it can only find computers that respond to this SMP echo request message. As I said, many computers, they don't respond anymore. So this is F pin. Let me try. My Kali Linux, right now, the network is, what? It's a network. Because I'm running in UCF, I cannot use bridge adapter. If you use it in your home, you can set up in bridge adapter mode, so it can serve the same purpose. So this is this one. Let me open my Metasploit. This is Metasploit. It's so small. Let me. It's already logged in because it's saved mode. Okay, so this is Kali Linux, and this is Metasploit. Let me open my Windows as well. I think the network is still in that network. Oh, my Windows virtual machine has one problem. It cannot be saved. Every time when I saved, it's when I return it back, it doesn't show the screen. Anyway, so if you want to see your IP address in Linux, it's ifconfig. So this is my Kali Linux IP address 2.4. My Metasploitable Linux IP address is 2.5, 10.0.2.5. So that's the, if you can check whether they can see each other, you can ping 10.0.2.5. So you can see that I can ping through to the Linux computer. For Windows virtual machine, the password is capital P ASSW0RD explain sign. So that's the default password. Okay. So, I open more. So this is the default username and password for the Windows virtual machine. Remember this path 0RD explain some. In Windows, you use ipconfig to find its IP address. So this is 2.15. First, I would just check whether these several machines they are on the same line. So this 2.4 is my Kali Linux. So from Windows can ping through I think I have configured my Windows to be able to enable this ping response. So I should be able to ping from Kali Linux to my Windows machine. Yeah, I have enabled that firewall rule, this inbound echo request firewall rule. So now this by using this ping and we verify that these three machines, they are in the same virtual line. Remember, I set them all in this network mode, so they are in the same virtual line, so they can directly see each other. So now I can try fping to ping this to find out every live IP address within this subnet. Fping -a, it will only show the live one. So the other IP address that does not give response, it will not show up. -r, if I only try one time. -e is this IP address range dot, for example, 0.10.0.2.255. So basically, this /24 subnet. Remember, all my subnet, all my virtual machine is in this subnet. Then it will show the live one. So first, this 4, remember 2.4 is Kali Linux itself. 2.5 is a Metasploitable Linux virtual machine. 2.15 is a Windows 10 virtual machine. So we can see that all these IP addresses give response. And these 321, these are the system created a virtual host. Like 2.1, you can think that 2.1 is a virtual router. Remember, everything we set up in the network mode. So in my virtual machine slides, I mentioned that in this network mode, VM slides, let me show. In this network mode, when you set up, the default net router is called net network. So this net router is a virtual router created by VirtualBox. So this 2.1 is basically that virtual router. So 2.1 is a virtual router. And 2.2, 2.3, one of them is a virtual printer. So in your virtual machine, you can set up, you can use network printer, connect to one of these virtual router, then you can print out everything in your virtual machine, because this virtual printer will forward this print job to your actual printer on your host OS. So that's why you can print things on your physical printers. So I don't know which one is the virtual printer, either 2.2 or 2.3 is virtual printer. So these are created by the VirtualBox itself. And for this IP address, I'm not sure why they show up host unreachable. But I think it tried every IP address. If I remove this -a only show the live one, you can see that every IP address has been tried, but they are slightly different. This is live. This one is 255 is error permission denied. It just means that in the virtual line created by VirtualBox, it doesn't allow any virtual machine to send out broadcast message. Remember, 255 is broadcast IP address. So this virtual line does not allow any computer to send broadcast message. I'm not sure why this IP address, the response is different from this IP address. These are, but this is unreachable. But 2.6, 2.9 is also appeared here. So this one shows every IP address that has been tried. So this is FP. It's called pin sweep. So you can pin a subnet of a range of IP address using one command. Second scanning is you do port scanning. What port scanning means, because when a target computer is running a server, it needs to accept incoming request. Usually it's a TCP request. Then whenever the server receive a SYN packet to that port, for example, port 80, then the server will give back a SYN-ACK response, try to set up this TCP connection. Then this SYN-ACK packet come back, it means that this IP address is running the corresponding service. So that is port scanning. Port scanning basically finds whatever port is open on the target computer. These are the default port for the well-known service. It's called common port number sheet. Like DNS is UDP 53, but DNS actually it can also accept TCP connection. So by default, usually DNS query is UDP, but you can send the DNS query by using TCP protocol as well. Port 80 and port 443, these are the web service. 80 is HTTP, 443 is encrypted web service, is HTTPS protocol. Email is the port, TCP port 25. And this POP is basically one of these email software. When you get email from an email server, this email software will use a POP protocol to extract all the email from the email server. So this is a POP. Right now, of course, we usually don't use any email software anymore. We basically use the browser to connect to the web server. As long as the web server supports this browser operation, then we don't need any client-side email software. But many companies, they still use specialized email software to do that. FTP is 2-port, 2021, SSH is 22. So these are some well-known ports used for port scanning. It's the top. So here is a list of the top vulnerable ports. Basically, those ports are frequently scanned by attacker or by those attacking software. Of course, the top is web service, because the web server is a top target for any attackers. But there are also some other, like this CPUDP port 135. This is Windows RPC service. Basically, Windows network neighborhood. If you enable your network neighborhood service on your Windows computer, then your computer will run in this RPC service. It will accept neighborhood Windows to send this request. And Windows, the previous version of Windows, this RPC is a very famous port to be attacked, because this service always have this and that kind of vulnerability. So it's one of the top scanned port by attacker. And these are for Windows NetBLS over TCP/IP. This is like Windows. It's related to network neighborhood, but like Windows file system sharing, network drive sharing. Those are like that. This is Microsoft SQL Server. These 2 ports are used for that. This link basically give you some information. It's called cheat sheet. Here is listed the common hacked port, so you can find more information about here. So this website is dummies for hacking, so it could have some useful information for you to know. And for TCP-based scan, usually the most common scan is send a thin packet to that specific target on that specific port. Then you will get a thin ACK response. But if the service is running on that port, you can send other type of scan instead of thin packet. You can send a thin scan, because if you send a thin packet to a running service, the service should also respond to you. So these are commonly scan used. This Christmas tree scan means if you set all the flags as 1 to the target server should also give you response. So usually it's a response is like unrecognized or something. So for port scanning, the well-known tools is called Nmap. Many attackers they will use Nmap to do the scan, because this is very simple tools and it is available everywhere. The default in Kali Linux, the Nmap, the default scan will scan 1,000 common port. So these are pre-configured 1,000 port, usually used by attacker. But because this will send 1,000 1,000 scan, usually it's 1,000 thin request packet. You should not try it on a live internet target, because they can clearly see that you are using Nmap to scan their computer. It has a very clear traffic signature. So don't use it on any live computer, especially on some sensitive target like a military target or government target. Don't try it. It may give you some trouble. So when you try this large traffic of generating a large traffic program, you should only try it on your own virtual machine, or you can try it on the computer in your home. If you set up your virtual machine in this bridge adapter mode, then you can use Nmap to scan your home computer or your home's like a iPhone or iPad. You can try to use Nmap to scan those devices. Then because Nmap is not really attacking software, it will not cause any harm to your iPhone or iPad. So you can use it to scan your home device. But here, I can only scan my own virtual machine. So by default, you can just Nmap the target. What's the IP address? So suppose I do scan for this Windows machine. My Windows machine is 2.15, 10.0.2.15. 10.0.2.15. The default is this one. So this one will generate default scan, usually is the TCP thin packet, and scan 1,000 port. It took some time, but I don't know why it's so slow. It should be fast. Let me scan that the Metasploitable Linux. The Metasploitable Linux is 2.5. So let me do this. So Metasploitable Linux finished the scan very quickly. Let me see. Okay, the Windows I finished the scan, but it seems it doesn't find any open port. All 1,000 scanned port are filtered. Filter just means that it doesn't get any response. So either in the network, all these TCP packet has been blocked, all because of the target computer has installed the firewall, so it has been blocked. So right now for Windows machine, because Windows machine running firewall by default, so it blocked those services. If I go to the Windows and disable the firewall, for example, I turn off the firewall. And redo this scan again. It will also show how long it takes. It takes 22 seconds. So now you can see that once I disable the firewall, these ports have gave response. This is MSRPC. This is NetBLS, basically the network neighborhood or network file system sharing. Those services, they are running, but the firewall have blocked all the incoming the inbound. And Microsoft TS40, I'm not sure what is this one, but I can check what's the port 445. If you don't know what this each port means, you can just Google search port 445 used for what? Is a networking port with to the original by early version of AS network directory service for Active Directory for service message block protocol over TCP/IP. Okay, so this is for to directory is for user login, like a user login management. So you can see that what does the firewall do? The firewall filtered all these incoming traffic. So for Windows 10, if you want to enable like a network neighborhood, then when you enable that service, this firewall on this specific port will be open. Then Nmap will be able to see that those ports will give the response. But by the default installation, you haven't enabled this network sharing or network neighborhood service. So firewall have blocked all this incoming traffic. Here showed how long it finished. You can see that this is much faster, just 6 seconds. This is 22 seconds. And here it shows not shown. These are closed port. And here showed these 1,000 ports are filtered. So basically those ports, they give different response. When you disable the firewall, when you send a TCP SYNC packet to a non-existing port, the Windows machine actually give response. The basic response is the TCP reset, basically, because the Windows does not run in service on that specific port. Whenever it receives the packet, it just gives a reset packet. So it's very quickly. So the Nmap know that that corresponding port is closed. So that's why it showed these 997 ports are closed. So that's why it's very fast. Once it sends the SYNC, it immediately receives a reset packet. But for here, because the Windows firewall is running, the firewall does not give any response to this SYNC packet. Then Nmap will need to wait for timeout for that SYNC packet in order to know that, well, there's no response to that specific port. And Nmap will show the status as filtered, basically get no response from the target. That's why it takes a longer time, 22 seconds, to finish this scan. So now you know what's the difference. This is a filtered, this is closed. Closed port, you still get response from this running computer. Filter means you don't get any response. You have to wait for timeout for your probing packet. So for this Metasploitable Linux virtual machine, it doesn't run in firewall by default. So for this port, the Linux server immediately give reset packet. And for this port, it gave a SYNAC packet. So Nmap know that the Metasploitable Linux is running this service. FTP, SSH, Telnet, HTTP. So all these service is running on the Metasploitable Linux machine. And if you, let me see. You can enable your Windows computer to accept a remote desktop. Let me show where you can enable your computer's remote desktop. Okay, so you can basically you can open your File Explorer, go to this PC, right click on this PC. You can open this. You can go to the property, then you go to this control panel, or you can go to this control panel directly. Oh shoot. And you can click the remote setting. And right now, the default is don't allow remote connection. If you select this allow remote connection to this computer, then you basically open remote desktop service on your Windows machine. If I do that, and then if I rerun this scan again, scan this Windows Nmap to scan this Windows computer, you should see another opening port. You can see that this is before I open remote desktop. This is after I open remote desktop. Basically, this one, MS WBT server. So this is the remote desktop service. Remember in the Splunk case study, I showed that when attacker find out Bob's account, they try to use Nmap to scan all the internal Windows machine to find which computer is opening the remote desktop. That scan is scanning this port, this 3389 port. Because once it finds out that Windows open remote desktop, then attacker can try Bob's password account on that computer. It's very likely that Bob's password will work on that remote Windows computer. So that's a remote desktop. Okay, so this is Nmap, the default use. And of course, this default will scan 1,000 port. And it's still a lot of traffic. You can configure Nmap to do some specific scan. Like by default is is a TCP SYN scan, but you can use this option to do some other scan. If you want to scan UDP port, you can use this -SU to scan UDP, to do UDP scan. So here is a tutorial on this Nmap sheet target. Let me see if this link works or not. This is Nmap sheet. So basically shows some normal command that you can run. So this shows some example. Some of my example is coming from this reference. For example, if you scan a single IP address, so this is most straightforward way. You can use domain name instead of IP address. If you scan a range of IP address, you can use this, like a 1 to 20, or scan subnet. You can use this subnet prefix. Of course, for every IP address, it by default is sent 1,000 TCP SYN scan. So you can see that if you scan a subnet, you have more than 200 IP address. So you can see how many TCP SYN packet has been generated by the Nmap. On the other hand, Nmap is a tracking tool, but security staff, they use Nmap all the time. Like for a company, the security administrator, they may do Nmap on their internal network periodically to find any IP address is start running, and any IP address open some unnecessary service. For example, some companies, they don't allow you to install like file sharing system or some other service. If then they can do the periodical Nmap scan of the internal subnet, they can find out whether some computer has installed those services. You can put the target in a text file, then just scan the IP address in this target list. So you don't need to scan entire subnet. Especially if your company has a large subnet, but your company only have like less than 100 computer, then putting those computers' IP address in the list will make this scan much faster. And by default, Nmap will scan 1,000 ports. So still it will send a flood of traffic, especially if you scan a lot of IP address. So you can specify what port you want to scan, like -P is specify a single port to scan to find whether that target accept this specific port. Or you can give us a range of port number, like this. You can give a list of port, like -P. You can give a list of port to scan. Like if I only want to scan this 3 port or 4 port on the target IP address, you can use -P, then put the port number here using comma to separate them. The Nmap will know you only scan those ports. So this will save a lot of traffic. Another way to make it faster is using this -F to do the scan. This means fast scan. So Nmap fast scan just means you use -F. This one will scan only 100 port. Again, this is a predefined 100 port by the Nmap program. So remember, when I do this scan, it takes 6 seconds. But if I do this -F scan, it takes only 1.30 seconds. So it's much faster. And again, it still finds all the 4 opening ports. Because all these Windows opening port service, they are in this 100 top port to be scanned. So if you want to scan faster, you can use this -F to do the scan instead of scan those 1000 ports. Like for here, for this Linux machine, originally it's 22. If I do this -F, you can see that it's 0.16 seconds. It's also faster. Yes.
I just got in. What did I miss?
Okay, so TCP SYN scan is the default is -SS, but -ST is a TCP connect scan. So TCP connect will actually set up this TCP connection. Remember, TCP connection need a three-way handshake. So after you send the SYN, when you get a SYN ACK, you should send another ACK. Then this connection will be set up. TCP SYN scan means Nmap only send the SYN packet without sending any following packet. So the connection is actually not set up. But TCP connect scan, the Nmap will try to respond to this SYN ACK packet, send another ACK to make this connection to be fully established. So it will be a little bit slower, TCP connect scan, but you finish this TCP connection. I'm not sure why you do that, but one reason is that if you do this TCP connection fully connected, then you will have less likely chance to be viewed as a scanner. Because if you only send the SYN without any response, then clearly the target knows that this is not a normal connection. This is ignore discovery. You use -PN. This one just means normally when Nmap to do a scan, it will first use ping to ping the target, then it start to scan. If you want Nmap directly do the scan without first ping the target, you can use this -PN to remove that first step. And so these are the simple scan. It only finds whether a port is open or not. So it doesn't check anything further. But if you want to check anything further, then you can use this advanced scan, like -A is detect the operating system on the. So this scan will set up the connection successfully and get the first data packet from the server. Because usually server, when the TCP connection set up, the server will send a welcome message to the client. The welcome message contains a lot of information. For example, if you SSH to a SSH server, SSH server will give you a welcome message showed what's the SSH server's software version, what's the operating system it is running. So those information is useful for attacker as well. So you can use this -A to do the scan to get the first use a welcome message. This -SV is also like that. It's a standard service detection. It gets the welcome message, but you can get the welcome message in a less intensive way or more aggressive intensive way. It's like whether you want to get one packet, then you just ignore it, or whether you want to get more data from the server before the Nmap ignore anything following. Because if you get more information from the target, that means your scan will be slower, but you could get more detailed information from the target. So this you can specify this version intensity either 0 to 5. 5 is the most aggressive scan. So let's try this nmap-A. For example, this try on that Windows. -A, let me try -A will be slower. Let me try open another tab. I don't know if these two options can be used together or not, so I will try. You can see that it's still not finished. So it takes 27 seconds to finish this -A. And -A, it showed that the service is open, and it also showed more information about the service because it got a welcome message from the server. Like this 3389, the welcome message, it got this information. Basically, when you open remote desktop, once the TCP connection is finished, the Windows remote desktop service will give a lot of information to the client. This shows that information. And OS and service detection performed, and it showed these are showed service version. So these are not the remote desktop service information, but this 3389, the get information is actually stopped here. So these are the welcome message because of the remote desktop service. But after that, these information following, these are the OS detection function by the nmap. It detected that this is a MAC address, and it also saw the OS match is a Windows, but it doesn't show any more information like Windows 10 or something. Let me see this. This one, I used the -A. It used 14 seconds. This one, 27. So -F will actually speed up because it only scanned the 100 port. So this -A and -F you can use together. -F is the specifier we only scan 100 port. And -A means we do OS detection. So these are still the same OS detection part. So at least it detected that this is a Windows machine. So if we do this on Metasplorer Linux, okay, let me show that in a moment. It took some time. So this is OS detection. It's more helpful, but it will take longer time. Another scan. This is another is that nmap support. This is called script engine. Basically, if you want to do more advanced scan that nmap has not programmed in, nmap provides this open library. So basically, nmap provides this so-called script engine and provide API. So if you want to do your own specific scan, you can write a simple script by using the API provided nmap. Then nmap will be able to load that specific script you have written and do this scan according to your program. So you can think that right now Nmap become an open platform. You can write whatever scan action you want to do and let Nmap to do it. This script banner is pre-built in the Nmap module. This one will set up TCP connection, get the first welcome text from the target. This is one script, but most useful script is this one, is the script vulnerable. So this will run a series of scripts looking for known vulnerability. So this script will contain the scan specifically try to discover some known vulnerability. Then Nmap will give you the report, tell you which open port is vulnerable to what kind of discovered vulnerability. This one for the Linux, you can see how many information has been given. Like this port 53, it showed this bind is this DNS version is this one, and the SMTP, this is the email. Remember we use this discover the service scan. So this email showed that this is the SMTPD. It showed SSL version, and the SSL supported cipher. So it gives you this more detailed information. The operating system discovery is show up here. Where is operating system? Operating system is show up from the MAC address part. It shows the operating system is Linux 2.6 something, and the kernel is 2.6. So that is operating system discovery. It actually discovered the host name. But it is much slow. It's 23 seconds. If we don't run this -A, you can see it only runs 0.2 seconds. So let's try this one, script banner. I will only try the Linux, otherwise the Windows is take too long. Script banner. This is useful because it can give you the report of whether the remote target has a known vulnerability, known vulnerable service installed. And it also tells you what the vulnerability is, because all the known vulnerability on the internet, they have been given a so-called a standard number, like a CVE number, or Microsoft, they give this MS some number to a specific discovered vulnerability. So this report gives you that corresponding unique ID, and you can go to Google search to find more information about that vulnerability. Okay, so the banner running finished is 15 seconds. So you can see that for every opening port, this banner, like for FTP, the banner showed this VS FTPD 2.3.4, the version. SSH, so the banner information. This is that welcome message. This is contained in the welcome message. SSH2, OpenSSH, and the version Debian Ubuntu. And this is Telnet banner. I'm not sure why that is. So it gives you all the banner information, basically first the welcome message from the server. The vulnerability script took longer. If you use this one, This will take a long time. I may not have time to show that, but this scan will take a few minutes to finish. Because this vulnerable script contain all the known vulnerability module in it, so it is very large script. It will take a long time to finish. And there is a graphic user interface, the Nmap, like in Kali Linux, it's called a ZMap. For Windows machine or Mac, you can also download ZMap on your own computer. It's the GUI is very simple, so it doesn't provide that much help, but it's still relatively easier than this command line use. I don't have to introduce the next one, but I want you to install this Nessus on your own computer, and we can introduce this one in next class. This is a commercial software, so you can only download the trial version to use. And because this is not a attack software, and it's a commercial software, so you can install it on your host OS. You don't need to worry about its own security issue. The first, you just need to download this Nessus Essential. This Nessus Essential. So you find the corresponding installation one for your own operating system. Like my computer is Windows 10 64-bit, then I will download this one. This is x64 for Windows 7, 8, and 10. And once you install it, you need the activation code. So activation code, it's a Nessus Essential. You just need to put your username and your name and email address, any email address here, and they will send you activation code immediately within a minute. So you can put like your Gmail or any other non-essential email here to get activation code. And I would recommend you to install it on the host operating system, on your host OS, not in the virtual machine, because its initialization will take very long time. If you install it on your virtual machine, it will take even longer time, probably half an hour to finish its initialization. I don't know why this software hasn't solved that problem for multiple years. It still have this problem. So like yesterday, I installed it on my own Windows laptop. It takes 13 minutes to finish the first initialization. Basically, after you install, before you can run it, it will have a long initialization process. It took 13 minutes to on my own computer to finish this one. If you install it on your virtual machine, it could take like half an hour, 20 minutes or half an hour to finish. Okay, so that's what I want to emphasize. Oh, let me come back to this vulnerability scan. You can see that it's still not finished yet. This vulnerability scan will take 5 to 10 minutes to finish, but the output will be very long. So the best way is that you run this Nmap scan and redirect output to a text file. Otherwise, the screen show up, you have no way to see all the information. Okay, I think that's all for this class, and I will finish this Nessus in next class. Okay, that's all for today's class.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
Bye-bye.